Hello and welcome to Rauta's stream, January 2024. Happy New Year if you haven't got the greetings from me so far. Now we've been living in 2024 almost a week now. I hope you have survived year 2023. So here we are, I don't know, talking this and that, and of course having a beer or two. Mind you, it's really, really freezing cold outside right now. Really freezing moon. I mean, it's probably a crescent moon uh, out there right now. Nonetheless, fucking cold. I get my beer in outside for like, I don't know, 15 minutes, and this is colder than getting it from refrigerator. Anyway, let's open the can of beer. I don't know if you hear the fine sound here, but that's how it is. Seems like I have a little bit of a dirty glass. Oh, look at this beauty. This beautiful, weird craft beer. One of my all-time favorites. Oh, yeah, of course I should show it, even though this is not sponsored by no means. Coolheads Salted Licorice Raspberry Sour 5%. Why I keep mentioning this beer is that this is unique, one of a kind. No, a lot of people, well, of course, out there know, in case you have been following the craft beer scene for past few years, that raspberry sours are quite common. I mean, probably the most common type of sour beer you're able to get from places where you're able to get sour beers to begin with, or craft beers. But this salted licorice, very, very Finnish thing. It's a kind of a candy, hard candy usually, which some people just dislike. Some people fucking love it. Now, it sounds really, really weird, like an avant-garde black metal kind of a thing when you put some salted licorice into your raspberry sour. It's like my brain says no, fucking no. But the beer, which is also quite peculiar in color, looks almost, I don't know, what I see the reflection, or more like camera taking the picture to my screen. This looks more like a tomato juice, maybe a little bit brownier in real life versus what you see in the picture, because of course light is reflecting here and back and forth. So on my screen this looks a little bit more red than reality, but I don't know, maybe it's actually quite red. But this is crazy good beer, I can tell you that much. I fucking love it. 5 out of 5. All right, so first of all, welcome to the stream, and thank you, Benji, big time. Thank you for your donation. When you people do donations, possibly, mind you that it is put into the pool, not very big pool, but nonetheless a pool of money, which then will be used for Rauta's expenses, meaning flight tickets, hotels, and well, that's pretty much of it. So now I can say that for 2024, things look pretty good thanks to all donators via a Patreon site, Rauta's Patreon site. I probably should link it to you. There are always options for you people to just help the cause. Patreon is one site. That is where you do these monthly donations, get something back, uh, and especially you get more to see interviews and all that stuff. And if you go to the high tier, you will get CDs from me and all that shit. Um, Patreon is one thing, which is definitely there to, you know, help with the donation. And the other thing is always go for, well, this kind of a PayPal donation. I'll give you the link. I'm not saying you should be giving any money. I'm just saying that if you want to help, here it is. So the money here coming from Patreon and from YouTube, income from the ads you are bound to watch when you watch the interviews or reviews or whatever content. That money will be pooled for hotels and flights. And so far, I'm happy to say year 2024 looks actually pretty cool. Maybe I should switch that light so it won't bother you that much. So the money is then put into the pool, and that way we get to do travels. And Inferno 2024 is the first foreign festival we are gonna go for, and later, because that's taking place like early April, or is it late March, around Easter anyway. So that's the first foreign fest for Rauta this year, where we will be doing interviews. But before that, there are a couple of domestic ones, like Nordic Metal Cruise. Cruising is about 5 weeks from now. There will be some interviews. At least Hell Ripper already said yes. Abath said no. Toxic Holocaust is a question mark. Then there will be a week before that. There will be a local black metal event in my home city. I'm trying to get an interview or two. We shall see how it goes. Next week, I'm supposed to do one interview, but these local ones, what is happening domestic grounds, that doesn't really consume any of the Rauta money. So it's all saved for those foreign trips. So what I'm saying here, that whatever money we're getting, it's used so that we can make more interviews, meaning more trips outside Finland, because lots of those bands never come to Finland. And of course, it helps to go outside the borders of Finland in order to do more interviews. So basically, when you donate money to Rauta, it means you pay me to do more work. From my perspective, it's kind of a lose some, win some. But then again, I want to keep building Rauta bigger. And the more I can travel with my camera people, the more interviews and other stuff I can do for you. Unfortunately, people who hate Martti, my sidekick character, you will also have to see more Martti videos. But that's about the welcome rant of year 2024. So indeed, have a good new year, and I hope you're having good years so far. I hope all the COVID shit and all that is pretty much gone. I had a couple of flu past few weeks. That is two flus between, in this fall alone, before the winter hit the fan. And past 3 years, I have had nothing except during the COVID years. But yeah. Also, my band Nightside, we had suffered quite a bit of various flus, COVIDs, and whatnot. So now our recording process for the album number 2 is a little bit delayed. But we're supposed to start recording starting next week. Originally, we were supposed to start actually this very weekend. I mean, we have the pre-production done with demo guitars and stuff like that, and then we will start recording drums, guitars, bass, keyboards are done already, and last but not least, of course, the vocal parts by yours truly. So if things go as planned, we have a new Nightside album recorded before February, but you never know for sure when there are delays. But I will keep you heads up, updated about it. Anyway, time to scroll through the comments. Once again, if you have a specific question to me, or you want to comment something in specific related to me, please tag my name, tag Rauta on the comment section. Then it will be actually boosted. I will see it. And of course, those donations like Benji, thank you once again, did earlier, they will be boosted up. I will automatically get a notification of donations as well. But even tagging helps me. So that's what Benji did. Tagged me, donated, double heads up. So do what he does. He is a veteran of Rauta streams. Anyway, Halbeard, also welcome here, and still congratulations for your new release. I hope people will be finding your music. Milos, Serbia, hello. Nice to have you here. Yes, Benji, salted liquor is salmiak indeed. You are already very, very updated about it. God damn, this beer is so good. Halbeard asking a very good question about what do I think of Belgian 10% beers. Well, Belgian beers, those cloister beers, they are really good. Among my favorites with IPAs and sour beers and all. So yeah, I think Belgian beers are really, really good. Sometimes you don't really have to go overboard with the high percentage, like with Imperial Stouts going for, I don't know, 12, 14, whatever. But yeah, I mean, there is a time and place for really strong beers as well. Hello, Sadistic Väinämöinen. Frosty Northern Winland. I guess there is a lot of cold where you are located. Hello, Voltman. Happy to be here. Yep, never more rules. Oh, I fucking love these Nordic beer sours. I actually, today, when I went to pick up these School Head salted licorice sours, I actually picked up a couple of tropical sours, which I will have later on after I'm done with this. I took 4 of these salted licorice sours and 2 of those tropical ones, so I'm pretty much set for tonight. Can't stay out up tonight too late, so we are gonna have maximum 2 hour stream because I have to be in bed by 2 o'clock in the morning, and I have other things to do than just stream, mind you. But we have plenty good of time, so keep making those questions, and I'll do my best to answer your questions as well. Oh, Bloody Mary! I really love. That's actually my favorite drink of all times. Bloody Mary and gin tonic. Keep them coming, and I will be drunk as fuck. I really mean it. And when I'm going to those Nordic metal cruise in a few weeks, they do really good Bloody Marys. All right. Oh yeah, Texas Now shirt is actually pretty fit now. Used to be smaller, or I mean, I used to be smaller, not the shirt. Got this, I think, when they were touring in was it 2016? It must have been because I think it was the era just before Rauta started. Like a year before Rauta started, we did a couple of interviews with some bands, already video interviews. I have linked them before, and that's when Nile were playing with Melekesh in Helsinki, Finland. And I think this is when I bought this on the tour. Actually, I will show you my back, which sounds weird. So this backlist of shirts, I am not a big fan of these, tour listing shirts, but then again, not too many bands have actually good looking long sleeves, and I love long sleeves, like these Nile decorations, almost like runic inscriptions, and this Nile, mummy. I mean, I love it. And Nile is one of my favorite death metal bands, so why not? And now, thank you so much, Brian Mons, for your Canadian donations. This is really, really appreciated, big time. Like I said before, all this money goes into the pool, so I hope we, as a Rauta team, meaning me and my camera people, always one or two, um, we'll get to do another Norwegian trip this year. I don't know if you people have seen, but I always want to explain where the money is used. Now that the Inferno is already booked and done, meaning flights, hotels, whatever, and that means last year was really, really good for Rauta. We got a little bit advertisers, which you have already seen in starting of some of the videos, which mean we made a little bit of extra cash. So I got to pay for me and my camera people the flights and hotels. So now we're already done with the first trip that is already paid in 2023. So now I'm saving the money to get our asses in Bergen Beyond the Gates 2024. I don't know if you people have checked out the lineup, but it's fantastic. So I'm thrilled to see those bands live. I'm thrilled to go outside Finland, of course. But more importantly, I'm thrilled to do those interviews. I don't know if you remember last year, I got to interview legends like Possessed and, well, of course, other interesting bands as well. Aeternus. We did a new talk interview, Terrestrial Hospice, and all that stuff. Thanks to our trip to Beyond the Gates, which is once again, thank you, people donating. So I just want to explain why and how the money is used. Pardon me, getting bubbles because of drinking beer. So anyway, yeah, back to the Nile thing. Yeah, we did a Nile interview back then, and I was supposed to do a Nile interview for Rauta actually at Inferno 2023. But unfortunately, since they were touring around the stuff, there was a really tight schedule. So before the show, they really didn't have much time. After the show, even less, which means that, or meant, I couldn't do the interview, even though people were trying to make it happen. But sometimes, especially during big bands doing big tours and all that stuff, sometimes it just won't work, unfortunately. So yeah, of course I was supposed to get Carl Sanders for an interview, but didn't happen, unfortunately. Hello, Cecilia Taylor, nice to have you here as well. I'm trying to greet each and everyone here. What else? Hello, Christoph. Hello, SK. Nice to have you here as well. My number one supporter. Damn, Cecilia, why are you turning down Silent Green for this stream? I mean, you have better things to do than just, watch the stream and all. Antti Tanhua, that's a good question. What's my favorite Nile album? I'm still kind of undecided. There are plenty of bands which have really, really good discographies, meaning I like most or all of them. And Nile being one of those bands, I have hard time figuring out which would be my favorite. In fact, it would really require me to go back to listen back and forth the discography, which I think I will be doing. That I'm going through my own record collection. You might see on the background. I started at the end of last year, going from alphabetical order, my own CD collection, selling the ones that I don't think are good enough for my collection, and revisiting some of the albums I haven't heard for years. And I'm starting a new series. I'm getting back to the Nile question in a bit. So I'm going to introduce my record collection letter by letter. And now that I've finished a couple of weeks ago or so, I will be featuring in the first episode what I have in the letter A. So by the time I'm actually to the letter N, I will, of course, listen to all the Nile albums. And probably then I will also make some kind of a Nile discography retrospective, which I did already with Amon Amarth and Sacrilegious Impalement. Now, Sacrilegious Impalement, of course, starts with S. So that was a little bit different reason, because I got all the albums from the label. But for Amon Amarth, it triggered because I have only like maybe half, maybe 1/3 of Amon Amarth albums in my shelf. But when I was listening to them, I wanted to go through the whole discography, read all the lyrics, and then make the retrospective video. And I have such plans for some other bands, including, say, Nile, Cannibal Corpse, and the like, to be done. So maybe then I can give you a fully detailed answer what's my favorite Nile album. But currently I'm thinking maybe it's Ithyphallic. But like I said, it's a band with fantastic discography, really strong ones. There are no weak points in Nile discography. So I don't really know for sure. And of course, sometimes over the years, my taste for certain favorite albums tend to change. A good example would be Dark Throne, of which I read the kind of a ranking video maybe 4 years ago. And I went through all the Dark Throne albums by that time that was out. After that, at least 2 albums have come out. And that's when I decided that actually it's not Under a Funeral Moon, which is my favorite Dark Throne album, but Transylvanian Hunger. The both have been like 10 out of 10 albums for me, like decades. But I always kept thinking Under a Funeral Moon would be the Dark Throne album, the number one. And this time was like, maybe it's actually Transylvanian Hunger. So I'm saying sometimes I'm undecided when there are a couple or more equally superb albums by any given band. I might just, change my opinion. Like This used to be the number one, now it's number two or whatever. So that's why it is for me hard to say which is my favorite Nile album. But like I said, I haven't been listening to the older ones for years because I'm usually so fucking busy with all the review albums that I tend to forget all my older albums to my record collection back there. And then there might be some 5 years or even 10 years before I get back to listening to certain albums. And I'm like, man, I haven't been listening to this album for 10 or 15 years. Why not? It's so goddamn good. And the answer is also always because I'm so much stuck with the review albums. So I'm always more listening to new albums and new bands rather than old farts. But I try to find with this project, once again, this is not the first or second time when I'm going through my record collection in alphabetical order, but that's what I like to do every few years. I go through each and every fucking album through, like, in my record collection, to like revisiting the old albums I loved so much. Sometimes I figure out, okay, maybe this album needs to go. That's not that good. I just bought it or kept it for some reason over the years. I mean, they're not bad albums what I have there. I mean, they have always been like at least 8 out of 10. But I like to kind of like trim it down. Like what I'm saying is I try to keep the fat percentage on my record collection very, very low. Meaning I'm trying to get albums which are merely good. Whereas I want all the albums in my record collection to be great. Now that's kind of an impossible task because as a human being, it's kind of hard to get rid of stuff that you actually like. But I want to get rid of the albums which I feel like they're good, but I don't really need them. And that's where the difference. It's like when you're dating a person. In my case, I'm dating a girl, for example, and I kind of like her, but I'm not falling in love with the girl. The difference, liking and loving. Same thing with albums. You're like, this is the girl I'm gonna marry. This is the album I'm gonna vouch for. I'm gonna buy shirts. I'm gonna like take my money. I'm gonna see them live a million times. And then there are bands which are like, okay, I like them. If you play them, I'm gonna like them, and I don't mind seeing them. But I'm not gonna travel to another city to actually, see the show because they're not that good. Sometimes these lines are very vague, like which is great, which is good, and which is something else. No, lots of rambling. All right, let's get rolling with your questions. And once again, indeed, tag me when you need to ask me something. And Brian Mons, I was just making joke. Canadian donation is, of course, as worthy as any. I was just making fun because I get YouTube shows me what currency is being used, and here it says CAD, Canadian dollars. So I was just making a joke because usually people use euros or US dollars. So no offense meant, Brian. Donation is donation, even if it's a fucking candy bar. So what is happening? Oh, Cecilia Taylor. Oh, you were working at the club. Nice. Sounds like a good plan. Reading your comments in case you wonder why I'm like staying silent here. Um, yeah, about that Abbath thing. I was supposed to do an Abbath interview um, at Inferno 2023, but I was told he got headache, so couldn't happen. Now I was requesting to do Nordic Metal Cruise Abbath interview, and I was told Abbath doesn't do interviews on tours. That's like, what the fuck? Meaning, basically, Rauta never gets a chance to do Abbath interview because whenever Abbath would be playing here, right, it would be touring. And if it doesn't do interviews during tours, there is no go. I mean, unless I go to his home in Bergen. Not that likely to happen, really. So it sucks. Yeah, Bremon's Transylvanian Hungary is one of the best albums of all time. Yes, Halbeard, I know what you mean. Sometimes, even though our main musical taste is pretty much the same, things really don't change that much. But you end up noticing the details. Like you prefer certain band in the in the back in the days, and now it's now only okay. Or sometimes it goes vice versa. I'm gonna use Death's Symbolic as a good example. When I heard Symbolic back in, say, 1995, I remember this sounds pretty good, but it took me for something like 25 years to actually that album to climb up to a level of being 10 out of 10 album. Yeah, I know it sounds weird and goofy and all that shit, but just pointing out, sometimes certain albums really are growers. Look at the wonderful foam here. It this really looks like I'm having some kind of I don't know, Bloody Mary or whatever. Because I mean, this looks kind of dirty, and I don't mean the glass being dirty, but just the amount of weird looking foam doesn't really look like your typical beer. Yeah, the new White Death is good, and my review will be out actually next week in a few days. But I get it; it's not for everybody. I mentioned that in my review as well, so I get it. The new White Death for me is a solid one, but it's also a little bit different than the first one. So yeah, it will be too melodic for some people. Fuck! Now I noticed I haven't done something. God damn it! Well, sometimes things go full bar. Oh no, my loss. I forgot to do my Spanish lesson today. Yes, Gold, there is a thing of having two girls that you like over one that you love. Um, Sometimes, maybe so, but once you actually get the love going on, I mean, that line will change. But it's easy to say when you don't. I mean, come on. Inferno Sax is asking, what do I enjoy as far as music outside of metal? Well, that's no secret. I'm a big dark ambient fan. I think actually dark ambient is way darker than pretty much any metal out there. I of course like soundtrack music. That is also not a secret really because um, pretty much as long as I've been listening to metal, I've been enjoying soundtrack music. Even as a little kid, I started liking certain music. Conan the Barbarian being probably the most obvious classic example, along with John Williams doing Star Wars music, Indiana Jones, and all that stuff. Um, when I was a little bit older, I started to like even some pop music, but it had to be kind of a darker. So think of like Depeche Mode and the like. I didn't like when Paradise Lost switched from their, well, kind of old school doom death gothic kind of stuff to more lightweight music and started doing their metallic versions of Depeche Mode in a way. But later on, it started to make sense. So maybe these are the things that you kind of, your mind opens to a new set of things. Um, but I mean, I'm mostly a metalhead. I keep saying that I'm kind of a dumb metalhead, and for me, there are lots of genres. I might find individual songs. Like I do like individual rap songs. I mean, NWA, for example, has some really good tunes, but I really couldn't call myself, a hip hop fan. Um, Same thing pretty much with pop music. There's only a handful of artists which I find really interesting. Depeche Mode being probably the only one that I really, really like. That is Pink Floyd is one of the weird loves of my life, but even that I don't like whole discography. I like some more than the others, obviously. Um, this is, by the way, worth mentioning Depeche Mode and the like. When I was reading this black metal book, Evolution of the Cult, uh, been reading it about 320 pages out of 400 something now. So gonna be a review soon, I guess. Um, I wasn't maybe surprised, but in a way I was, that quite a few artists actually from the Norwegian black metal scene mentioned bands like Depeche Mode and Sisters of Mercy and the like among the bands that they liked and were inspired by. So I know I'm not a rarity. I'm no exception. I'm not unique when I say, yeah, I like darker kind of pop music and all, because there are actually quite a bit of black metal people who really like music beyond metal, and it tends to be the darker kind. Whether it's talking about bands like Killing Joke or The Cure or Depeche Mode for that matter, Dead Can Dance, etc., etc. There are artists which keep, like inspiring people despite being not metal, or maybe because of that. And there are certain same names that keep coming back and forth. Like, I know a lot of Finnish friends mentioning certain names or dropping names like Diamant de Galas, and when I read the same names on this book, I'm like, okay, these are no different than certain my friends or myself. And then again, of course, you realize, okay, basically these people are the same age. I mean, we were born in the 70s. So in that sense, people in our 40s or whatever, of course we have the kind of a similar stuff. So it's not really that surprising to understand that a lot of us metalheads have music taste beyond metal. But in the end, nonetheless, for me, beer is like babes. Can't live with them. Can't live without them. The point here is, like, as much as I like certain other kind of music beyond metal, metal most likely will be my number one thing in music forever until I die, and nothing is gonna take that away. So that's why I do, for example, Rauta. That's why I have my own bands, and that's why I've been keeping writing about music for, I don't know, 25 years now, give or take. So there's that. But it's of course healthy to listen beyond your typical comfort zone. And I would say there are lots of interesting bands outside of your comfort zone. Like, I don't know too many crappy black metal bands, too many crappy death metal bands. I don't know too many good pop bands, but I would probably know more if I just listen to it more. Unfortunately, I ran out of time if I'm trying to do that. Yes, Trevor Lance, I really understand and agree with you about the loving someone versus sleeping around. Benji, no Bananarama. I mean, they do have okay songs, but it's not really my cup of tea, to be honest. Cecilia Taylor, as far as I can tell, my friends, you know, I grew up with, my friends really, really like grunge. It was all about Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, of course, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Mother Love Bones, and even those non-Seattle based bands like what the hell was this New York based band that would Stone Temple Pilots. Thank you. Um, and yeah, I liked some of them, but only Alice in Chains stuck with me. I was never a fan of Soundgarden. I never liked Chris Cornell's vocals or the songs they did. For Nirvana, it was like a good song here and there. But I mean, I had Nevermind album back in the days, like 1993, 1994, roughly. I mean, I tried kind of expand my taste more in the grunge side of things, but only Alice in Chains stuck with me. Pearl Jam was more like I mean, I had the Pearl Jam debut album as on CD as well with the Nevermind. That was the kind of era when you tried to kind of like what your friends liked. But I was already more into metal when they were more into grunge and rock. But yeah, grunge was making waves here in Finland as well. So while it wasn't, of course, that big as in United States, grunge was still definitely a big thing. And I think big part of that is, of course, of Nirvana. Nirvana was huge. I'm talking about kind of a Guns N' Roses and Metallica huge, like being among the biggest modern rock and metal bands out there. So I think Nevermind or whatever smells like Teen Spirit stuff. I think that kind of made the change. And when, of course, Kurt Cobain was found dead, this tragic element when an artist is dead, it really boosts up the sale. People are crying, and suddenly new fans are born, and they're kind of a basic thing to happen, really. Gerald, I'm not sure which side project you're talking about by the Paradise Lost. I mean, I know that they have this host, or if you're referring that, yeah, it's like Paradise Lost continuing with they started with host. That album actually sounded pretty cool, but not as good as Paradise Lost. So I didn't, you know, get too excited about it. But I listened to it, and it sounded kind of a promising. Oh yeah. Oh, you already mentioned it. Host. It came a few months ago, and yeah, I gave it a chance, and it was pretty good. Yeah, I wouldn't be really surprised if Walk Weakerness of Bursum got into darker stuff with the Kier and all. I mean, there is a reason for example, Carpathian Forest covered that Kier song, "A Forest," which, in my opinion, the cover that is better than the original one. Yeah, I'm not surprised if Rob Darkin loves Dead Can Dance. I mean, there are plenty of people who love that stuff. So, yeah. By the way, now mentioning Rolling Stones, I actually got to see Rolling Stones with my boss and a couple of friends about 5 years ago in Stockholm, Sweden. And man, those guys are in their 70s and they still rock way more, rock and roll, than a lot of metal bands. These guys are like, you learn the moves, you learn the groove. These guys pretty much kicked ass. I like certain Rolling Stone songs, but I'm not a fan. But I remember it was quite shocking when Marduk, of all the bands, did this Rolling Stones cover song, what it was like 10, 15 years ago already. So yeah, it's not that surprising. I already remember when I was a little kid when Wasp was covering the same song, Painted Black. Never liked that song so much, but I mean, it had this really, really dark feeling. So in that sense, it's no surprise, but it was kind of surprising that it was Marduk of all bands that covered Rolling Stones. But yeah, it's actually pretty cool. Um, that reminds me, I'm supposed to do this video of metal bands um, covering non-metal bands. I need to add this Marduk and Rolling Stones there on the list. Hello, Masloth. Welcome to the stream. Prodigy actually made some waves in the metal scene back in the days. I remember. For me, it was too much dance music still, too techno, if you will. Yeah, I guess I that could be said about like grunge was making waves when metal was pretty lame. I can actually agree with that for a time. But then again, I think also this was like early 90s, mind you. Death metal was still pretty um, early on. I mean, we're basically when grunge was, getting bigger, early 90s. That's exactly when, basically Swedish death metal exploded. Okay, black metal was, with their second wave bands, quite new and quite underground. So obviously, say 1992, 1993, of course you could say, yeah, metal was lame. But come on, that was the era when bands like Dark Throne and Mayhem and Burzum and Enslaved, they were just firing up their guns. So can't really say metal was lame, but mainstream metal, on the other hand, yeah, maybe so. I mean, by 1992, it was obvious that Iron Maiden wasn't exactly as good as what they were in the 80s. Not to mention bands like Metallica. And yeah, I guess for bands like Slayer, even you could say that, but I wouldn't say that metal music in general, like overall, especially if we include underground, like death metal and black metal, I wouldn't say it was lame when grunge was big, when grunge was making waves. Now we're talking still about early 90s, but if you would say that grunge was making waves in 1999, then we could say, yeah, that's the era, that's the year when Norwegian black metal was pretty much a goner in terms of good quality, that is. A lot of bands went to shit around that era. But that was earlier, so can't really say that metal sucked at that time. But yeah, Brian Mons, like you said, Nirvana was mostly, popular because of their hits. Sadistic Venom is asking hard question, which I don't think there's a single answer. Which are the most promising black metal bands these days? Now, I'm gonna decline the clear and sound answer to that, because this is like a trap as a question. Maybe you didn't mean it as such, but I'm saying like this. Um, there are bands which are really, really promising, but they might turn into shit very, very soon. You don't know that. And of course, some bands are promising because the music is good, but what if they got more success? Will they turn into something like Satyricon turned to? So I don't know. Promising bands. For me, I would say a lot of older bands are still more promising than a lot of newer bands. But there are some, good newer bands. Like, for example, Sarvegas made their debut album in 2023, almost made to my top 10 list. And I'm not going to see how they would, go crap, because they're not the kind of a band that I would see, failing. But sometimes bands kind of, I wouldn't say that literal luck, but I mean they kind of get lucky and they make one or two good albums and then they start doing something else. A good example of this would be Dödheim Scarred back in the 90s. I don't know how you felt about Dödheim Scarred in the 90s, but I remember that Grunet till Konge was pretty good. Monumental Possession was fucking great, still is. And then when 666 International came out, I was like, what the fuck is this? So if you had a similar band these days, young guys making their new side project or a new band, and you were like, okay, this first album is good, the second album is good as well, and third album, what the fuck is this? So that's why I don't really see so many bands. Call me cynical, but I would see most bands are not actually promising. They're only as good as their latest attempts. So in that sense, I don't see bands really be promising. But like I said, this is a matter of taste and perspective. Yes, I remember Lustre vaguely, though. Yes, Cecilia. I listen, James. Definitely darker because of Lane Staley's drug problems and death. But also, I think, for me anyway, they maintained the darker thing even after Lane Staley died. Like um, the Devil Put the Dinosaur album, for example, has some really, really dark moments, But also, Alice in Chains for me anyway. I think it's more important grunge band because it's more metallic. So it was never as rock and roll as some of the bands like Soundgarden, but more like having the heavy metal sound, if you will. That's pretty interesting, SK, that Kuroda covered Prodigy. Yeah, Cecilia Taylor, that would be interesting. The black metal band did a collaboration with Taylor Swift. Hey, I could date Taylor Swift. She's fucking stunning. Now, excuse me for a minute. I need to refill my glass and, give a little bit of water to this baby, and then I will be back in with a new beer. So stay tuned. 2 minutes. I was kidding. That didn't take 2 minutes. That was more like 30 seconds. Yummy, yummy, yummy in my tummy. And now it's time for another interesting beer. I'm not actually sure if I have tasted this one earlier. I mean, it sounds familiar. Another Cool Head beer. By the way, this is not sponsored. I tried to get to them to sponsor Rauta a couple of years ago, before COVID anyway, so more than 2 years ago. And they were interested, but something happened and nothing happened. Anyway, Cool Head is still my favorite Finnish brewery, and they do excellent sour beers. This is Cool Head's Tropical Sour. It's only 4%, so a little bit lighter than the previous one. I'm still having the fucking great taste in my mouth. It's like the beer was really literally making love to my mouth. This feels so good, orgastic. So let's hope this won't be a disappointment. Already a little bit different in color. Look at the beautiful. This looks like an apricot, or I don't know, some kind of a tropical juice. See these colors. I know the glass looks a little bit dirty with fingerprints and all, but you get to see the color. This is almost like some kind of a nice juice. Sponsored by Erebaltor. Yeah, this is really tasty as well. All right, let's get back to the comments. Yes, Tyrell, definitely Alice in Chains was heavier than most grunge bands. Yeah, Gerald, drumming in Nile is definitely one of the reasons why I fucking love it. Do I like the X Holland? Doesn't ring a bell. I don't think I have heard it. Hondologist. Nope, doesn't ring a bell. Cecilia Taylor, about new Inquisition or D side. I haven't listened to the singles because I kind of skip singles. Not single ladies, but single songs. Because thing is, I am going to wait for the full album. So I haven't listened to them yet. So there is no trap. Well, Irina, in 1999, Norwegian black metal was pretty much goner versus whatever you had in coming from Finland and Sweden and other countries. Even DHG was kind of getting crappy by the Matrix era. And Burzum was already shit back in 1999, in my opinion. I mean, I'm talking about the Dungeon Synth albums. Benji, yeah, we could both have a backup dancing for Taylor. I'm not much of a dancer, but maybe I could, talk my way into some of her business. Flashback Tenaner is asking, what's my all-time favorite band? This one is easy. Slayer, accompanied with Wasp and Death. I mean, of course, Slayer has weaker albums. They have nowhere near perfect discography. I don't even like all the Slayer albums that much. But give me some Seasons in the Abyss or South of Heaven or fuck Raining Blood. And I'm like a happy boy for the rest of the day. Then again, I'm a big lover of Wasp, especially older albums. So there's that. And Death has a great discography. But then I could go with the old Dark Throne. But Slayer if is like my default. What's the best band in the world? Answer. Well, Leif, my favorite Marduk album is definitely Panzer Division Marduk. That's so fierce, no bullshit. It's streamed down to the very low fat percentage. Um, yeah, and I mean, I grew up with the Legion era. So while I like what More Twos is doing, I still am like kind of a Legion fanboy in that sense. Not fanboy, but I mean that era is what got me going on with Marduk. So it's basically the same thing with say Metallica. My point here is, you know, Legion is kind of a like Cliff Burton in a way. So it doesn't matter if the new bass player is better. He ain't that. But maybe we should think Legion more like the same way as the original Exodus or ACDC vocalist kind of a thing. I mean, you can replace him, but it's not really the same. And Paul Baloff is, in my opinion, one of the best, or was one of the best trash metal vocalists of all time. I mean, Bonded by Blood. Fuck, it's fucking great album. Yeah, flashback. I really love weird beers, so there's that. Sometimes I say that these sour beers, especially super sour beers, they're like, they're like raw black metal, not the mainstream people out there. Mainstream lager beers are like when you're listening to bands like Iron Maiden, Metallica, Five Finger Death Punch, Lorna Shore. No, well, not maybe Lorna Shore. That's too extreme for mainstream fans. But I mean, lager is like mainstream music. When you go for these weird ass craft beers, then you're listening to some underground metal. That's pretty much the same thing. Benji, unfortunately, about the grave thing, I heard that they were supposed to play in Finland, but I heard that they get cancelled. Didn't know the hiatus thing, but I guess not surprised anymore. Inferno, unfortunately, Maryland Death Fest is currently way out of Rauta's budget. We are not making enough money to go to the United States. So far it's a no-go unless a magical sponsor somehow somewhere appears and wants to, get us going there. So as much as I would love to go to places like Psycho Las Vegas or Maryland Death Fest, budget wise for Rauta, it doesn't make any fucking sense. All those interviews would cost just way too much. Matchlot, I've been actually thinking of doing Rauta beer many times over the years because I'm a big beer fan, craft beer fan, and I think Rauta beer would be something like some really hoppy IPA, or maybe it would be really sour beer. But Rauta is way too small a channel that nobody could give a fuck. So there's that. Um, there is an interesting question by Megated Assaultory. Rauta branched out into gaming. I've been a gamer for a long time, and I've been streaming games, but uh, branched out into gaming in what sense? Like streams or whatever you mean? Yeah, Sadistic Vitamin and Sarvikas was one of those bands that ended up in my top 25 or whatever for 2023. So yeah, I like them. The debut album is good. And now the funny thing is, this came to me as a surprise later on. Our Nightside guitarist, the rhythm one, is actually joining Sarvika's live lineup. So I'm almost biased to say when I say that, yeah, they are good live. But he's not like a full time member, only live member. So maybe that removes the biased thing. Maslow is asking Drastus or Azoth. Unfortunately, I still haven't heard Drastus, but friends keep telling me it's a good band. Maybe someday I will check it out. Brian Mons, I would say lager beers are good for sauna and when you're doing something, I don't know, like work outside. But I mean, it's basically no taste beer. Yeah, Leif, I mean, not everybody is able to understand that Legion and Cliff Burton comparison, but I guess old school people will understand it. Oh, Cecilia Taylor, sign me up for an oatmeal lager. Oatmeal beers tend to be good. I gotta say, Mortis, um, it's not really the kind of epicness I'm looking for. Yeah, Milos, Double Napas really, really good. Could do the magic. I fucking love that kind of beer. Leif, that's a pretty interesting character. German soldier with demonic heritage with a demon. Who has a demonic heritage with a demon. Okay, and then it turns into a bird mutant horde, and then these run into a dinosaur. Well, that's a wild story. Definitely describes myself. Yeah, Halmstad, good record. Inferno, when are you going to? In December. Well, prepare for a cold trip. At least this December, there was some black metal event in Oslo, in Norway. So yeah, Norway can be kind of a fun, but it's also quite expensive. Flashback, I almost never drink energy drinks. I'm a big coffee addict, though. Um, Back in the days before COVID, when we did these yearly gaming expos, I mean, my day job and all, uh, we had these gaming expos with the, booths related to our customers. And then people would actually, the people, our customers and all, they would bring us energy drinks and then I would be having them like 3 days a row because you kind of have these um, long days. You're standing for 12 hours straight. Well, of course you have lunch breaks and all, but those days I pretty much had like a few energy drinks during the whole weekend, 3 days or so. because they were free and you kind of needed the extra energy to keep up with the stuff. But normally I never buy them. I mean, if somebody offers me a Red Bull, vodka, whatever, yeah, I drink it. I have it. I no problem. But I don't really like feel like I need them. But I do drink quite a bit of coffee. Finland, I don't know if you know that Finland is one of the leading countries drinking coffee. I mean, on global scale, I think it was like Finland was like the number one country even. So yeah, we're big coffee drinkers, and I drink a lot of coffee. I fucking love coffee. It's like sex in my mouth. Cecilia Taylor, the dinosaur band from Finland, Heavy Saurus. I'll type it for you. I just recently saw it for the third time live. Fluxpack Tenor, I did a review of the Lords of Chaos movie. Um, I'll link it in case you want to watch it. Um, I'm surprised, like 5,000 views for this video. I guess people wanted to see it. I don't know if that link actually works. Maybe it doesn't. Yeah, Benji, I think most of the energy drinks really taste the same. At flashback, I think we got at least Monster. Monster actually has pretty fucking good energy drinks. Red Bull is decent. Then we have some Finnish ones, which are okay. Leif, yes, I am a daddy. Sadistic vitamin, neither. I actually buy espresso beans, then I grind them with my own coffee bean grinder. So my kind of everyday coffee is the espresso coffee beans from Lidl. They are really good quality considering the price. Now, if I want some more pricey stuff, sometimes I go for a certain kind of a Starbucks, really dark roast coffee like Verana or Sumatra. But yeah, I tend to buy when I travel, for example, I tend to try some different dark roast coffee brands. And while Starbucks is a big brand, at least they know how to make fucking good coffee. I mean, there's a reason why I do like Starbucks. Oh, Megated, by no means. I mean, even though Rauta is, of course, revolving around metal music, um, I'm a gamer. I've been gamer since I was a little kid, and I'm now old fuck. Um, so I keep always saying that Rauta is about powerlifting and metal music. Mostly metal music, but powerlifting and fucking gaming, they're more important. And of course, I like to talk about music and TV shows and all that stuff. I just don't make them into daily videos. But when I'm on streams, I mean, all topics are like whatever. Like nowadays, I run my own threads. I don't know if you know the Meta, Meta company for Instagram or Facebook. They started Threads also in the European Union now, and it's basically their own Twitter. So I like, you know, updating my topics on Thread as well. So Threads, I write there like quick reviews of albums, but I also, update on games and movies and TV shows, just basically everything. My life isn't just metal. I mean, even though I listen to a lot of music all the time, I play in the two different bands and I do Rauta content like reviews and whatever. and interviews. Of course, for metal music, for Rauta. Of course, I do a lot of other stuff: powerlifting, video games, role playing games, watching movies, watching TV shows. I enjoy writing. So they always kind of like get into some kind of a weird mess. And of course, on streams, I like to talk about the other things, not just music, because I mean, Rauta channel is anyway thousands of videos all about metal music. So when we're doing these kind of streams and whatnot, of course, I want to talk just something else than just music. And when people meet me in real life, be it at festivals, of course, it's entertaining and refreshing to talk something else than just music. But people always keep, poking me about like, hey, do you like this band? Or what do you think about this band? Or what do you think about this artist? Or what are your favorite albums? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, of course, I can talk just music all day, no problem. I can talk about sex, metal, and powerlifting all fucking day. But I mean, there's life beyond music, of course. Yeah, I know J Dog. People sometimes compare Rauta and J Dog style because we're both into, hitting the gym. We both talk about extreme music, but of course, our personas are quite different. And of course, our tastes are different, of course. Yeah, flashback. That's just my review of the movie Lords of Chaos. I know not everybody's gonna agree with me, and it's fine. I don't expect people to agree with me on things. That's the beauty of it. Once we disagree, we actually have something to talk about. But if we would agree on everything, it would be a fucking boring circle jerk. And what would be the point of that? Cecilia, what's that pure Colombian coffee you remember you mentioned? The IV? That doesn't really ring a bell. Timoth Hibi is asking if I like combat sports. Well, I've been practicing martial arts since year 2000. Now, since 2020, when the COVID hit, I've been on break. I've been on hiatus in terms of martial arts. But I've been doing a couple of different kung fu styles, 4 years each. I've been doing some Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but that was like less than a year. I've been doing some free form from grappling back in the days, kind of submission grappling. Um, but I what I really started to like some 10 years ago was like more like free form self defense. That is related to concepts such as defendo, senshido, and also some knife based martial arts like Piper. I don't know if you know Piper, but it's a South African, well, edged weapon style martial arts, where you just do knife fighting. Um, and Libre, which is also kind of a, well, not edged weapons kind of style. So it's for me what interests me more these days is self-defense, being aware of what's happening in your surroundings. How do you defend yourself on the streets? Like, don't get into fights, and if you get into fight, how do you know de-escalate the whole thing, how you get away from that, because it's one thing to have a controlled fight um, in like a boxing ring, because you have bright lights. You have a referee who is going to stop the fight when somebody's knocked down. Now, when it gets into the streets, where there are no referees, there are no friends maybe to help you out in case you get into trouble. So these are very, very different worlds. And while I like the traditional styles like Kung Fu, Judo, well, Judo is like a little bit modern, but say different styles of Kung Fu or Jiu Jitsu, Karate, things like that. I mean, I love them the kind of a discipline what they have. You know, when you bow down and you're like, okay, let's take the stance, and the kind of a mental sides, the spiritual side. I'm not talking about tea ceremonies, for fuck's sake. But I'm just saying, like, in a way, I like it's very, very controlled discipline. So it's very different from your, say, everyday life. Like when you go to the locker room and you remove your normal clothes and you put them right there in your locker or whatever, and then you just put on your G or other martial arts garments. You get into the hall, you know, the training hall dojo, and then you have the black belt or whoever is the instructor, and you're like doing your bows, your greetings, and that's like different territory. Your belt defines something. It's like you have a degree. It's in a way kind of like military, where you have this people's ranks like around their necks and all. I mean, you don't see that when you go to a black metal concert. You're not, okay, that's a sergeant, that's a Lieutenant Rauta, or whatever. I mean, when you go to metal concerts or when you go to basically anywhere out there in the world, with the exception maybe your job or army or military or martial arts, there are no ranks. Nobody gives a damn what you are. At workplace, you might, okay, that's the CEO. You have to listen to what that person says because she pays your salary. In the army, of course, you're like, okay, that's the lieutenant, that's captain, let's fucking salute, because things are high and very strict in hierarchy. And it's not exactly the same, but kind of a similar in martial arts. When the brown belt guy tells something to this white or yellow belt person, you know that you really should listen to the person, because I mean, that person is already ranked higher because he or she is more qualified. You can see the belt. The belt alone tells that this person has trained more, is more skilled, and has such experience and knowledge that you don't. So there's certain kind of a hierarchy which goes by the skill levels. But like in music, it's not like that is a red belt guitar player and that is only blue belt. I mean, you're just a guitar player. If you can play certain notes, fine. But nobody keeps comparing, like, is Barry Vikernes of Burzum better guitar player than the Dog Throne guy? And what about Steve Vai here? Is he the black belt? I mean, nobody gives a damn. In a way, I would kind of like if, World of Metal scene had more ranks, because there are a bunch of newbies trying to do this and that when you know that they're essentially bunch of posers. Like, leave the fucking hall. But then again, also that's part of the charm in metal music. It doesn't matter whether you're 18 or 48. If you know your shit and you're a cool person and you know your shit and you don't do stupid things, uh, nobody gives a damn how experienced you are and what age are you, what kind of bands are you listening to. But mind you, back in the days, of course, there was this kind of mentality. Maybe the guy next to you was 23 and you were 18. That guy would look down on you like, who is this motherfucker? Who is this kid? Why did you let him in? He's even having the weird kind of a band shirt. He probably must be a poser. And when I was reading a book about it, this black metal cult of evolution of the cult book, it seemed like Brazil, for instance, had this mentality. Like people would rob you of your band shirt if it was a wrong kind of band, or if they decided you're not worthy of the band. Hey, that guy has a Slayer shirt, but his hair is too short to wear a Slayer shirt. Let's grab him. Kind of a brutal. I mean, that's how you live and learn. Anyway, I'm rambling. Okay, I'm reading your comments once again. So mind me. Once again, tag me um, if you need to ask me something. Yeah, Leif, no worry. You can use Rauta name in as way you see fit in your book and stories. Of course, I'm more like honored that you feel like using Rauta name in with your characters. Hello, the human devil. Sorry for a delayed answer. I was explaining some of the stuff here, so hence the delay. Hello, Marcelo. How are you? Um, you will be there with Acherontas. Very, very nice. Let's greet again. Sadistic Vitamin, yeah, I've been 5 times to Wacken Open Air. The first time was in 2003, then I was 2004, 5, 6. I think I skipped 7, and then I was for the last time 2008. Yeah, I've been liking Wacken Open Air, especially back in the days. Flashback Tenader is asking if my best concert experience also with Slayer. Well, most likely. I mean, I've seen so many good gigs over the years, of course, but well, Slayer gigs never have let me down. Yaski, I think me and the J Dog are quite different overall. This is a hard question to answer. What's my all-time favorite record cover? I really don't know, to be honest. Jerry Lump, yeah, I think it's pretty common that black metal artists have non-metal influences and not even to listen to metal themselves. Um, I don't find it uncommon at all. And Black Metal Book I mentioned has quite a bit of stories about this. So yeah, I think it's not that uncommon really. Flashback is asking my favorite bands outside metal music or rock. Well, probably it would be Pink Floyd, Depeche Mode, and then some of the soundtrack artists, and of course dark ambient artists like Lull, Lustmord, Inade, things like that. Oh yeah, Cecilia Taylor, the video where we did an interview and ending with self defense moves. That was the ex Reverend Bizarre Lord Vicar guy who actually lives in the same city. Yeah, he does Aikido. Yeah, Motibi, definitely go for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu if you want. That's very competitive sports, and that's not self defense really, but that's really, really, I think, one of the best martial arts styles. So, what about Akkerkoke uh, uh, stuff interview? I mean, yeah, I don't like their music, but I mean, it doesn't mean that I hate the people behind the bands. So don't get me wrong. If I don't like certain music, that doesn't mean I dislike the people. And also, sometimes I really like the music, doesn't mean I like the people. Leif, what do you mean already sang or dropped metal songs on the world? What do you mean by that question? Please elaborate. Cecilia Taylor, I couldn't have noticed your non-lethal typo unless you were mentioned fucking autocorrect. Yeah, Brian Mons, this beer was pretty okay, but not as good as the salted liquors. And I now need a more beer, so give me 1 minute and I'll be back with it. No, wait, still have some. Haha, fooled, yeah, fooled myself. Yeah, Marcelo, definitely pull me by the sleeve when you're seeing me at Steelfest, because as always at Steelfest, I'm fucking busy. I'll be running about, doing interviews and seeing friends and all that stuff. So when you see me, like, grab me by the sleeve and let's greet each other once again and have beers. Yeah, Gyro Lab. I think back in the days, certain countries like Brazil, I guess, they definitely were like more like gangs than just normal scenes. I don't envy that place one bit. I mean, I probably could have survived those kind of things because, I mean, I never got too much into fights, but I've had my own fights, of course, and I've been quite aggressive person back in the days. Not like violent, but I mean, I've always stood my ground. So I probably made enemies along the way, and I probably some people still hate whatever Rauta is an asshole or Jerry's an asshole because he talks too much or he has too much opinions and blah blah blah. But I mean, that's how it is. If you have an opinion, somebody's going to hate you. Somebody's going to hate your guts because you voice an opinion. Now, if you're silent like a mouse, nobody's going to hate you, but then again, you also are not making waves. So I mean, there are good and bad sides, whatever way you're gonna behave. So I think black metal and metal in general is about having your identity, whether it's about rebellion or whether it's about voicing your thoughts. And when you're voicing your thoughts, when you're acting, whatever you are, it's gonna you're gonna make friends and you're gonna make enemies. That's like the best basic lesson in life. Oh, flashback! You've seen Lost Lustmord in Stockholm 2016. I fucking envy that because I have never seen Lustmord and I would fucking love to see it. Um, Lustmord is definitely one of the better dark ambient acts out there. So yeah, would love to see it. And of course, I would love to interview a lot of these dark ambient acts because I think their minds must have some really really dark places because they make darker music than metal is. Now, mind you, when black metal is all about darkness and sinister thoughts and well evil and night and nocturnal topics, death metal and the like has always been about the brutality, the violence, the aggression, the heaviness. And sometimes that's what I miss when I'm listening to black metal. I'm like, okay, I get the darkness, and then I'm like, hey, how about the heaviness, how about the brutality? And sometimes I cannot stand when black metal people are like, oh my goodness, I'm so much into this dark music, this extreme music known as black metal. And then they're talking about some fucking avant-garde bands. And I'm like, fuck this bullshit. This is fucking lame as fuck. You could be listening to some old school, like heavy metal. You could be listening to trash metal. You could be listening to death metal. You could be listening to grindcore and punk and all that shit. And you're talking about some avant-garde music with your fingers, little fingers twitching like you had this fucking AIDS on the top of tip of your toe. And I'm like, fuck. Like when we're talking about extreme metal, we're not talking about Ulver making, some synth music. We're not talking about Burzum doing Dungeons and we're not talking about Dödheim Skard getting avant-gardistic and getting into weird places. Fuck. We are blasting then some Transylvanian Hunger or Panzerfaust or some fucking Marduk. We're not talking about some sissy music. Don't get me wrong, it's fine to like avant-garde music and all that stuff, but in my opinion, so many ways, all this avant-garde black metal is like it's like a vegan to metal. I mean, meat. So I'm saying like avant-garde black metal is like the vegan equivalent to a barbecue party. Like everybody else is like, yeah, how is the Burzum album? Yeah, I'm more like a Dark Throne boy. Yeah, I like old Satyricon. Oh, I'm all about like Bathory. And then someone comes with the fucking vegan snitchel. I like Vedboen's Ende and Deadheim's Card. I also like Flaherty and Ulver. Get the fuck out of here. You don't belong here. So, don't get me wrong. Artsy fartsy music has its own place. But that avant-garde thing isn't really extreme stuff. So, fuck it. Get the fuck out of here. Sadistic Venom, and no, I never got to like Kingston Wall. They were maybe too proggy for me. I like, for example, my bandmate. He likes Kingston Wall, but I never made thing for me. Leif, unfortunately, I never met Legion. I know Bandidos gang here. Actually, my old band member, my ex band member guy, was I think he was a Bandidos prospect, but this was like 20 years ago, and then he got into trouble and kind of vanished from the scene. So yeah, I know that Legion kind of when he left black metal scene, he became more in the motorcycle gangs and kind of expected, to be honest. Hello, Captain Sweeb. Never been to House of Winter in Tallinn. I would love to go there, but kind of out of rather budget in terms of interview and all. But seems like an interesting fest because I met some of the guys when we played there with Nightside. I mean, in Tallinn, with the same guys. Escape. No, I don't really hate the band because I don't like the people. I mean, I tend to separate the artist from the band and all. Hello, Rob Hellfire. Nice to have you here. Yeah, thank you about the shirt. This is one of my favorite long sleeves. Yes, Mega, that I remember when Baratrum Sova was about Jesus was a criminal. Yep, and people, once again, if you have questions to me, please tag my name because otherwise I might miss. Even though I'm reading the back scroll, when you have like tens of people here, dozens of people here on the stream, and you're making comments, I'm gonna miss some of them. So please tag at Rauta like Benji is doing, and Maslow is doing. So yeah, Maslow has a fucking good question. If I could interview any film producer, who would it be? This would be a hard choice because in a way, there's so many ones like Ridley Scott. Also, of course, I would like to um, talk to Christopher Nolan, David Fincher, Tarantino. A lot of my favorite people. But then again, I would also like to talk about to John Milius, who was writing stuff for Conan the Barbarian and Apocalypse Now, which is my all-time favorite film. So there are plenty of people in the filming industry who I would fucking love to interview. I mean, of course, if I could expand Rauta to do movie interviews and all, the Rauta way, of course, not the mainstream media way, I would fucking love to do it. But if I had to choose, maybe it would be Tarantino or John Milius. Yeah. John Blake, good luck with the Emperor Live. I must say, I have been disappointed mostly by late Emperor Lives. It feels more like a cover band these days, so uninspired. Don't get me wrong, good music still, but the band feels just uninspired. Flashback, yeah, that Brighter that now interview would be interesting. Would be also cool to interview those bands myself. Yeah, Rob, but I mean, take the lyrics as they are. I mean, yeah, sure. Violence in death metal lyrics can be kind of edgy, but then again, it's not more edgy than in black metal. A lot of stupid thing, the stupid things are always taking place. So that's not just death metal; it's also in the black metal. Sometimes black metal lyrics tend to be kind of a childish, if you know what I mean. Well, I gotta say, I wish. I mean, I can kind of respect what Ulver are doing, but I don't like most of their music. It's kind of like in my opinion, up. This is pretty edgy. This is a pretty hot take comment, but I think Oliver is a kind of a good example of a poser band in terms of metal. I mean, back in the 1990s, if people would have been like, "Hey, I'm gonna start doing electronic music after a couple of black metal releases," people would be like, "Get the fuck out of here! You don't belong here." But nowadays, we're like, "Oh, he was such a pioneer. Oh, what a great genius! He didn't let metal music limit his imagination. No fucking way, Einstein. I mean, yeah, of course not. But in my opinion, it would have been great if Ulver changed names. It's really, really easy to blame Ulver, commercializing the whole brand, if you really know what I mean. Like, instead of keeping Ulver to, say, as a black metal name or whatever, I mean, it always changed the whole theme and did something different. And yeah, I know some black metal people are like big fans of whatever Ulver did with the electronic music and all that stuff, but I don't know. There is something that really rubs me the wrong way, and it's not like anything. It's not like I have anything against the people in the bands or Ulver in this case, but I'm just saying. In so many ways, whatever Ulver is doing, it's like way worse than any other Norwegian black metal bands is doing. So I can't say I'm a fan. I'm a fan of more like Ulver's individual releases or songs, but yeah, I don't have a single Ulver release in my record collection. John Blake, unfortunately, I haven't still seen Oppenheimer. I was supposed to see it with my friends at a movie night, but my friend got ill, so we had to postpone the movie night. So I still haven't seen Oppenheimer yet. Leif, I guess the Brazilian scene is still in my mind because I was reading this black metal book and it kind of reminded of old ways and, of course, told me some new stuff. But I'm not really a big, like, in terms of Brazilian extreme metal music. But I mean, it must have been so much, more extreme metal scene than other places. Yeah, Args, Conan is definitely one of the best movies in the world of swords and sandals. Yes, Gyro, I agree with the Mad Max Road Warrior is a fucking metal movie. I mean, it's like a heavy metal, not some avant-garde bullshit, but real heavy metal. Now that Avakuma mentioned Dark Space, um, I am trying definitely getting them for interview at Beyond the Gates if possible. Well, yeah, John Blake, I think most Ulver's music is quite boring indeed. John Blake, I think Foster Trim are both good. I don't know which one is better, but I mean it's hard to compare because of course they both have their own style. So never like neither one really stood out. So hard to say. I mean, let's be honest about it. Most black metal drummers are not exactly as good as death metal drummers because death metal tends to be more technical. Hellhammer is one of a kind, and there are a few exceptions, but like Proscriptor from Absu. But in general, I would say if you want drum pornography, go for death metal or even trash metal. Wintersorg, nah, that's not too much clean vocals for me. He's a talented vocalist, but not really my cup of tea. Well, Masloth, yeah, I think Mayhem turned into shit after Wolf Slayer Abyss. And I think it's partially because, well, Euronymous got killed. Yeah, Megated. I, as a Slayer fan, I am looking forward to Kerry King's solo project, but I doubt it would be as good as Slayer. But we shall see. I mean, I don't want to be having too many expectations. Rob Hellfire. This the beer I'm drinking is this tropical sour, so not exactly an IPA, but a sour beer. Pretty good, but nowhere near as good as the first one, which I will get right now. All right, it's almost 20 to 1. So we've been doing the stream for more than 90 minutes. Start making your final questions because I will be going to bed in about 1 hour and 20 minutes. I'm gonna go to see a new dog tomorrow. So, last beer of the night. Let's have another salted licorice goodness. This is no cheap beer by no means. A can of this kind of a delicacy costs almost like €5 a can, and this is from a local grocery store, not a bar. But yes, fucking great. Oh, Captain Sweet, by the way, if you want to type my name correctly, I don't mind if you type it, but Antti, actually, Satyricon hasn't really been playing shows for quite some while, but they're supposed to play 2 shows at Beyond the Gates next August. And I'm looking forward to interview them there. I spoke to Frost at Inferno like last Easter, and he told me that there will be Satyricon shows into 2024, and then the interviews should be possible. I hope this time it will actually happen because I mean I've done a Satyricon interview around say 2005, but this was of course years and years before Rauta, so there is no video interview on me doing Satyricon interview, but I think it would be due time to do that. First of all, Satyricon is still one of the biggest ones from Norway, and of course they have had a big long career. Even though I'm not fan of the later works, I still think that early works by Satyricon are fucking great. And Satyri is actually one of my favorite black metal vocalists. So there's that. So yeah, let's so hope it will be good. They're supposed to play 2 shows at Beyond the Gates, by the way. Captain Sweep can't say I know bands from Bosnia, not at least in the like out of my mind. Benji, I don't know about Nightside patches. Maybe later on. Actually, what we got recently from Purity Through Fire label. We did got some Nightside long sleeves. This is my own, but I still haven't worn. With the red logo and on the backside. So these are limited prints through the label and us. I hope the label will be supporting us with the with patches later on. Kram, for me, or Mark, should I say, by the way, nice to have you here. Oranzi Pazuzu is maybe a little bit too much on the hipster side for me. But I mean, musically, they're not bad. Just maybe you know, just a little bit too hipster for me, I guess. John Blake, of course, I would love to interview Dave Lombardo. He's like one of my top three drummers in the world. And because Slayer is the best band of the world, of course, I would fucking love it. Now, people often ask, like, would I interview this and that? My simple answer is if I could, I would interview each and every metal band in the world. I know it's impossible, but that's what I would do if I had the money and time. But Rauta's money is more limited than my time, so there is that. But yes, I would. Yes, definitely, I would. Rob Hellfire, I know Dominator is a good example of a fucking good black metal drummer, but you're also forgetting he's a death metal drummer. He does way more things in Murukskog than black metal bands. Um, Inferno is also good, um, but that's about it. I mean, death metal in general has better or more interesting drumming, in my opinion. Sadistic Vitamin, I do like what Darkseid is doing with Mqua. Um, his style is, if not unique, uncommon, and I like it a lot. But it's not, like proscriptor. Rob Hellfire, I'm not saying Mayhem is shit, but I'm saying Mayhem turned into crap after the Mysteries Dumb Satanas and Wolf Slayer Abyss. Well, Demon is a good album, though. Keep his Benji. Yeah, Motibi, I have to say that I agree with your statement about Mayhem. So I think Euronymous would have liked that Mayhem was successful, but I mean, think about what happened to the songwriting after Euronymous was dead. It was handed over to Blasphemer and the other guys. Like, try to figure out. They are not the same level of songwriting. There's nothing nearly as good coming from Mayhem Camp after the Mysteries Dumb Satanas. And that was 30 years ago. Oh, Cecilia Taylor, what I'm drinking, I had this early on. One of the best beers in the world. Salted licorice raspberry sour. Yes, I like these marginal beers as much as I like marginal underground music. And this is pretty much like going into, I don't know, into the world of avant-garde black metal. I hate avant-garde black metal, but I don't have hate weird craft beer. Flashback, I haven't say I have never heard Resident Sun City Girls, etc. Nurse with Wound I know only by name. John Blake is a good question about Behemoth. I think Behemoth's best albums are from the death metal era, and I guess Zoskia Kultus would be the best one, at least among the best. No, Get the Sweet, Jerry is actually my real first name. Flashback, I never heard, more like I have heard, but never listened to Swans or Sonic Youth. So, can't really comment. Oatscopt is pretty okay, but not my favorite from Sweden. Yeah, Leif, it's funny that Hellhammer, of all people, said about black metal, about white people when he's half Moroccan. He actually crashed our after party last year at Inferno. So it was pretty interesting. Ildiarn is good. Yeah, I featured Ildiarn a couple of times on Rauta as well. Necro Vault interview would be class. Well, let's make it happen when it's possible. Yeah, John Blake, of course, Bathory on average better than Mayhem. I mean, Bathory at least did some 10 out of 10 album. Yeah, Flashback, I hope you like my review of Lord of Chaos. I don't expect you to agree, but yeah, give it a go. Okay, I have to listen to Captain Sweep's comment. Do I think that presence of Steelfest in Finland is actually stopping black metal bands from touring Finland more since it's cheaper in these days to play fests, Marduk being example? I don't know if there's a one way to answer that question. I think certain bands playing at Steelfest are afraid of being cancelled because Steelfest is so dangerous a festival. Um, so I don't know if that's stopping anything, but it's affecting some bands. I gotta say I haven't heard band called Vended, so no comment on that. Bathroom is better for sure. Bathroom is better than Mayhem, yes. At the gates of or Dark Tranquility, of course, at the gates because Slaughter of the Soul is 10 out of 10 album for me. Dark Tranquility, I mean, I liked the early albums back in 1990s when I got Skydancer. I had hard time getting into it. Then I finally did like it. Um, this was around the same era when I was first time figuring out, black metal bands, like 1984 or so. And I liked early Dark Tranquility albums, like the Skydancer Gallery, uh, whatever the third album was called. I should remember because I liked it, and the MCD between that and the second one. But then it started kind of a fading away because my music taste was going for heavier music that is more into death metal, more into black metal, and Dark Tranquility was kind of like not extreme enough. But Slaughter of the Soul, mind blown, 10 out of 10. Yeah, flashback. I actually did Ildion worst to best ranking video, uh, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and then I featured Ildion in one of my Norwegian black metal crash course videos. Yeah, John Blake. I said the same about Lord of Chaos movies. It's not supposed to be a documentary. It's supposed to be a fiction movie about real events. Yeah, Hellhammer might be just trolling, but he also might have like weird opinions. Wouldn't be uncommon, unheard of. John Blake, a good question. What would be the best heavy metal website and the worst? I don't know what is the worst. Probably some badass blog. But the best metal website for me personally, because I care about data and facts, is Metal Archives. I know there is a lot of problematic people maybe in the world of Metal Archives site, but as a database, it's very important for me as a reviewer, interviewer, or general metal fan. So Metal Archives. Yeah, because I think the Faust case is a good example that first of all people's minds change, and also I think there was more to it about the murder that is that what Faust did than just about being gay, like there were some theories about like what happened and for what reasons. And for example, this black metal book I mentioned, there are some comments about it from various people, but I got the impression it was never just about because the victim was gay. There was more into that, but that's just what I think. Yes, Megadeth, I agree. Most thrash metal drummers would have no problem playing black metal, but I think a lot of black metal drummers would have hard time playing Slayer. Captain Sweep, I gotta say, I haven't been to Turun Levyko packs for a lot of time, so a lot of years now, so can't really comment. I didn't actually know that you're from Turku. Maybe you're someone that I should know, but I don't know your um, name. So, but then again, you probably would have known my real name if we actually know each other. So I don't know. Oh yeah, Cecilia. Of course you can ask. Like I said in the beginning of the stream, always ask anything you want. So I have seen one arm salute at Steelfest. Of course, they are rare in general, but with certain bands leaning politically extreme right, there are always some people doing that. They know, I think they know they're not supposed to do that, but they still do it. And why they do it? Well, why NSBM people do NSBM? I mean, there is such contradiction. Like, get me straight here. A lot of these rules of this given ideology, 1488, what have you, based on that, I think a lot of these people would be straight edge people making, kids and all, and saying fuck off to all extreme metal where it's drinking drugs and whatever. But sometimes, somehow, these things get messed up. You want to kind of like want to eat the cake and save the cake. So you want kind of want to be one of those black metal fanatics, drinking beer, going to festivals, getting wasted with your friends, and seeing the bands on stage. And did you kind of want to go cherry picking with the ideas of these, well, National Socialist pointers, ideological takes, and then it gets kind of a mixed up. So these guys kind of when they're drunk, they probably start doing these one arm salutes because they're like, it's ironically safe space for them. Now let that sink in for a bit. You go to a black metal festival, which is not supposed to be a safe space. I'm laughing at this idea when I'm explaining, but that's their safe space. It's like a let it be like this I think this is something that could happen in the United States. Let's say you are some Aryan supremacist people, and you're like, okay, we're for this one race, and we're going for our Adolf Hitler stuff, and we're going to this KKK meeting. That's their own safe space. Now take that mentality in a herd mentality for a little bit, mix that in a blender for some black metal people, and give them some booze, and you're gonna have that mess. Now, of course, that mess with the salutes and all that stuff is gonna shit stain a festival like Steelfest, and people will be thinking, okay, it's a problematic festival when there are people doing those salutes with certain bands which are like okay with the salutes, then the bands are stained because of this and that, and then they're like, okay, we're not gonna able to play there anymore because if we're gonna play there and we're gonna accepting this behavior, we're gonna get shit stained, we're gonna get canceled, and that's where the snowball starts rolling. So shit happens. People should not be given booze. I shouldn't be given booze when I'm doing these streams, but that's how it goes. Yeah. But yeah, Cecilia Taylor, on average, uh, even if you dislike that shit, which I totally understand, I don't think you would be feeling uncomfortable because of that. Because I'm thinking because more likely you're going to get groped among any kind of metal show. And I think that will be way more uncomfortable than seeing someone doing a drunken salute. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I say it. Avakum, I actually reviewed the new Asagram album, so my review is already out there on the channel. It's good, but not as good as the first one or the second one. Yes, Leif, I have read about this Bloodfire Death trilogy about Marduk and Bathory thing. I mean, Bathory being the theme. Um, I think the albums were like Panzer Division Marduk. Um, uh, Come on, my brain, give me the names. Uh, Fuck. Heaven Shall Burn and Nightwing and Panzer Division Marduk. I think that was the trilogy, if I remember right. This was also mentioned in the black metal book I was referring to. This was actually the first time I read about it, but I mean, why not? I know that Marduk has been making homage to Bathory. I mean, Heaven Shall Burn is obviously taken from the Bathory song, so why not? Yeah, Megadeth. I think black metal drummers, I mean, they do know blast beats and all that stuff, but most black metal drummers don't really have the versatility than thrash metal or death metal drummers do have. Dievel is pretty okay, but it's not that really great in my opinion. Irina, I have to mention that when I was getting Denial of God interview at Steel Fest, they actually did background check on me before they agreed to do interview with me because they had been lured into some kind of a uh, silly interview before me. So I think they did really nice job doing the background before agreeing. Metal Sucks might be the actually worst metal website. They're just a scandal tabloid like metal stuff. I don't know what Loudwire really writes about. Leif, yes, I'm definitely an atheist. Sometimes I say I'm more like agnostic, but atheist is more accurate. Anti-atheist would be even more accurate. Oh, Captain Sweep. Okay. Yeah. I just can't connect your name to someone I met at Steel Chaos, but yeah. Rob, I'm aware how many drummers and how many good drummers Marduk has had, but I'm still saying a lot of those black metal drummers, they can play fast, but they are not very, they don't have a lot of ideas. Let's put it this way. When compared to a lot of death metal drummers, I think the death metal drummers are way more interesting to listen to. I mean, if you're only counting as who can play the fastest, then you can say, yeah, a lot of black metal drummers are really good on the chart. But when I compare to say them to drummers like from Nile or Origin or Archspire or Abzu, Abzu being black metal, then again, yeah, but I mean, like these black metal drummers are not that good. Maybe they could play more versatile style, but they don't. But speed is just one element. So I don't think most black metal drummers are not that interesting as death metal. Hard to once again hard to compare in skill set because you really, like I said in earlier today about martial arts, you don't have the ranks. It's not like somebody gives you a blue belt, like, okay, you're this good of a drummer, now wear your blue belt, you passed this degree. uh, you play what you play. and that should be enough for any given band. Or if you're not good enough, you could get just booted. But listen, for example, the first Ulver album, Bergtat. I think it's on the third song. That's a good example. He does blast beats, playing fast, but the tempo goes down. I actually have to ask my bandmates. We have two drummers in the band, mind you. The other is just playing guitar, and ask like, "Can you notice the tempo change?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course." And he even gave me a number. I don't remember what the BPM was anymore, but he was like, "Yeah, it's clear. It seems like that he ran out of stamina." So I'm saying playing fast is one thing, playing interesting ways like Dave Lombardo ways is a whole nother thing. For example, it's always said that Fenris is a good drummer. He has a good groove and all that stuff. But apart from his Soulside Journey stuff, he doesn't really play that interesting styles. So you can be a good drummer technically and all technical ways, but that doesn't mean that you have a good style. And I think Doctor style exactly is a good example of that. Flashbang, do you mean Iliern's side project Sortvokter? Because I have mentioned that. Once again, people, please, if you want to read me your comment, tag me. Thank you, John Blake, for your comment that you said one is you say you're one of the coolest metal YouTubers. I do my best, but I am not here to pretend anything. I'm just being me, a real metalhead talking to other metalheads. That's what I try to do. But thank you for your comment. Oh, Leif, it was a La Grande Danze Macabre that was the Death album. I thought it was, um, well, yeah, the earlier album before Nightwing. Yeah, metal sucks really are what they are. They suck. Hey, Agent Rob Cock, how are you? Favorite pagan black metal? Um, Folk black metal. Isengard, does that count? Or Leif, please go ahead and do it. The Battery Project. Battery is always fucking great. Yes, Sortvokter is great. Sortvokter is way underrated in my opinion, but then again, I just think because people don't know about it. I did a classic review of the Sortvokter album, but that turned out a little bit bad because the music was too loud for the review video, and it was like my voice explaining the album was a little bit off, and some people couldn't hear what I was saying. Anyway, in my opinion, Sortvokter is good project, even with the horrible drum machine and all. But it's really really dark. There's some kind of a Twin Peaks feeling about the woods, and being really 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 dark. Actually, we're listening to the album on our way home to Oslo from Beyond the Gate, Bergen. I mean, it was 8 hours driving, and we were blasting some more or less classic albums along the way with my cameraman, who is a Norwegian cameraman, knowing a lot of people from the Norwegian scene and all. And then we had another photographer on the back seat. Me and my cameraman were basically teaching the guy on the back seat for a lot about old albums and old bands and all that stuff. So we were blasting also sort of walked along the way. Uh, it was fun to when it. I mean, Beyond the Gates happens takes place in August, so it was quite warm. But because we were quite high up in the mountain area, we were driving. Suddenly, we would see snowy areas, and we were blasting some Panzerfaust by Dark Throne, while driving. It was crazy because that was like, I don't know, some true Norwegian landscapes with true Norwegian black metal and a true Norwegian black metal driver. Something money can't buy. My Norwegian cameraman Carl is a really really good lad, uh, and I'm happy to have such friends. Uh, you know, some things money can't buy. Yeah, Rob Helfer, that's what I mean. Basic blasting that just gets boring. In my opinion, drum pornography needs to be way more diverse. That's what I'm saying. All right, Leif. It sounds like an interesting Rauta character. Well, I don't know how to really pronounce the name. Let's go with Villetto. Um, I mean, I haven't heard much Peste Noir, but the ones that I have, I don't like. Maybe because I heard only the less black metal like. So that's it. The live was just kind of annoying. For me, it was like a poor man's punk band rather than doing black metal. But like I said, maybe I've been listening to the wrong releases and all that stuff. Thank you so much, Leif. Nice that you took part of the stream, and I hope you had a good time. Another stream coming way in a month. I try to do these streams once a month, so maybe come back next time. And thank you for your interesting comments and answers and questions. John Blake, unfortunately, I have never met a Bath. I was supposed to interview a Bath at Inferno 2023, but it didn't happen because the man in question had headache. Now, I was trying to get a Bath for a video interview at Nordic Metal Cruise, which is taking place in 5 weeks, and they're headlining there. And then I was told he doesn't do interviews on tours. So, haven't met him, and most likely this way, not going to meet him. I know the drummer; he's a good guy. Yeah, flashback. That's the sort of that album is definitely a good one. Agent, okay, fair enough. Krora is pretty good, but I think they have weaker songs as well. But I don't know. In general, I'm not too big a fan of pagan black metal or folk black metal. I would say bands like Isengard and Storm are among the best. Then again, pagan black metal is so vast. You could really say, yeah, Bathory in a way is that, and blah blah blah. I gotta say, Forgotten Woods is maybe due. too slow for me and too kind of a, I don't know, that's not dark enough for me. That's not aggressive enough for me. Horg is a good black metal drummer, but I mean nowhere near of my favorite drummers. Thank you, Flashback. I'm happy that you like the channel and you like the stream. Like I said, always happy to help you out with new bands, guide you towards new interviews and all that stuff. Um, I'm here for metalhead to metalhead. I am not expecting to be anything else. So just like to, talk to other metalheads because I'm a metalhead, liking music and all. Well, Gyro, I had a talk with Mikko Aspa. After all, I got to know him in the late 90s or early 2000s when he released Nightside 7 inch on Northern Heritage as Northern Heritage's number two. We've been in touch ever since. Not like daily, monthly, whatever, but like I spoke him to at Steel Chaos. I don't know if the interview is actually happening with him. Um, he said he was somewhat disappointed with the Inquisition one. I'm still not sure exactly what bothered him with the interview. He said something like that I could have asked certain questions, which I didn't, but I'm not so sure which are they because a lot of people liked the Inquisition interview for the reasons mentioned. We talked about certain hard topics, like in his case, the child pornography thing, what is the legal case and whatever. But Aspa was a little bit disappointed. And when I asked him if the interview is going to happen, he's like he has some second guesses. So I don't really know if Mikko Aspa interview will ever happen. I actually asked him, like he said that he doesn't feel like if even I can ask him certain right questions. And I asked him, is there anybody who can ask the right questions? I don't pretend or claim to be the best one, of course. I mean, there are probably way better ones than me, but I'm saying, like, okay, if I cannot ask you the right questions after knowing you for 20 years and, you know, uh, running still quite deep in black metal and these topics, and I'm not afraid tackling hard topics, hard questions, and all, he said he doesn't know. My point is, he doesn't know if there is anyone he would give a video interview. Now, I'm not saying he got cold feet because he's not really the kind of a guy who gets scared or anything like that too easily. But I think he started second guessing the very idea that could there be a clandestine blaze or Mikko Aspa or Northern Heritage interview that really would be something that he could, say that, okay, this is good. Like something that he could be proud of. And that's a relatively common thing with some artistic people when they're like trying to create an album or a song or whatever, and they're like, I want to make this kind of a perfect, the fear of not able to do it is another question. So it's not so much like I couldn't maybe answer the right questions because I was thinking the interview is always two-way road. So if I'm not maybe asking certain questions he wants to answer, of course he can be proactive and say like, okay, you didn't ask me this, but I'm gonna anyway answer it. So I don't really think that's the truth. Like the truth to the reason of not doing the interview. I'm more like saying maybe he got cold feet because he feels like he couldn't do a video interview the way that it would really put him into the spotlight the way he would like to. like I'm saying, sometimes women have these issues. They know they're beautiful, they know they're gorgeous, and everybody keeps praising them. But if they don't get to choose the way they are in the spotlight before the camera, like wrong angle or whatever, there might even be a wrong angle, but sometimes the goblin, the troll, lives inside people's head, and that's fucking them over. Like kind of those ghosts and demons inside your head, like saying like, it's not going to work, buddy, even though everything would be just fine. So maybe it's more about a control issue. Like if you see some um, celebrities, I'm not talking about underground black metal, but real celebrities, they might have the fear that they cannot control how it is once it gets out. I don't know really the reason why Mikko Aspa started like. I mean, first he was like, "Yeah, let's do it," and then he was like, "Maybe let's not do it." And he's known me for 20 plus years, and he's seen a lot of Rauta videos, so it's not like he doesn't know what I'm doing. But something changed his mind, and I'm thinking it must be some kind of a control issue. But like I said, I don't know. This is must my wildest guess, my speculation, because usually when people change their minds over things like that, it's not like the it's not like the whole basic idea has changed. It's more like what their exceptions expectations have changed. So I'm rambling a little bit, I'm getting a little bit maybe tipsy here. But yeah, would be really good to do a meet Cospa interview, but at least for the time being, it doesn't seem likely to happen. But yeah, video format is too intimidating to a lot of people out there, especially when we're talking about black metal people who are more conscious, maybe, about their appearance than, or more worried about how they appear before camera than, say, death metal or trash metal, doom metal, heavy metal people. So that's it. Okay, reading your comments in case you're wondering what I'm doing here. So a biography about his date, birth of date, and blah 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 came out. What? That's weird. Mikospa is 2 or 3 years younger than me. Yet, SK, I gotta say, Comfort is good pagan black metal. Ungfell, I think I have heard Ungfell. At least rings bell. Sadistic Venom, yeah, I think Nocturnal Mortem is pagan black metal, but I don't find that much fascinating. John Blake, I remember what's the some done documentary series when it came out like more than 10 years ago. It was okay, but I mean, it was more about mainstream metal, really. Flashback, I have not talked about Woods of Infinity or Life Lover on Rauta because I mean, those albums have come out before Rauta even existed. But I have interviewed some of the guys from Live Lover when they were playing in Turku with a different band. But that was a year before Rauta, so that interview is out on YouTube, but with not under a Rauta title. Viletto, yes, I do know band Fjörgjord since the 90s. and I have reviewed quite a few of them on Rauta as well. Yeah, they have this Pieksämäki connection, but they were quite underground back in the 90s. Fergjord made their best stuff in quite late not 2020s, but 2010s or so. Yeah, Agent, I can totally understand. Hardcore has been almost more social issues and urban environments where black metal, a lot of it is more with the national romanticism and not so urban themes. But there are bands which are more urban themes too. Well, yeah, Enslaved is a kind of a tricky because they have been, I mean, out of the traditional black metal box for quite some time, and they were always more on the Viking metal side of things. John Blake, what is my favorite metal documentary? I don't know if there's a single one, because these different metal documentaries are usually about quite different angles. So, for example, when I was watching this Bay Area Godfathers documentary, I found it fascinating because it was explaining what was going on in the 80s, Bay Area, Oakland, San Francisco, and all that stuff. But then again, also this Helvete documentary about Norwegian black metal was really, really nicely done. It just so ended abruptly because it seems like they ran out of budget. So, I mean, it started really well, but it ended way too quickly. So, I don't know if there's a one like one above others kind of a metal documentary to begin with. Anvil documentary, for example, was really, really cool in a way, but it was only about Anvil rather than all around. So there is no real single favorite one. I remember liking some Sunno stuff back in the days, but I kind of got bored with it too quickly. Um, I am not sure with let's see if I can find the, the interview about the Life Lover guys. I'm trying to figure out. Let's see if I can find it. But I really have to get going. It's 25 past one, and I have to be in bed in about 30 minutes. Let's see if I can find it. Um, yes, there was a Kall and hypothermia. But this is partially in Finnish because this was done in 2016, so year before Rauta started. I mean, Rauta started in spring 2017, and this was done in March 2016. I'll give you the link. Um, well, as a distinct vitamin, you could say that Viking metal is pagan metal, but it's not pagan black metal. There's the difference. Not all pagan metal is black metal. I mean, there's a difference whether we're talking about, say, Bathory Viking metal versus Kamfar, which is essentially playing black metal style. So, like Agent Robococky here is saying that for him, for him, real Viking metal is black metal. So you could say, yeah, well, Bathory is Viking metal. Amon Amarth is Viking metal done into melodic death metal style. I mean, where you draw the line. These are overlapping often. All right, SK, see you another time. I think the next stream will be taking place on week 5, that is 3rd of February. That's what I'm looking at right now. All right, Joan, have a good dinner and all that stuff. And yeah, more stream coming your way. Now it's for me time to go. Gotta be in bed in 30 minutes. People, thank you for this 2.5 hour, and especially Benji and Brian Mons for donations. Thank you so much. This money will be, like I said, used for Rauta trips in 2024. And I cannot really promise you when the first interview for 2024 is coming out. But if things go well, I should have a new interview done by the end of next week. And if things go well, it's out before the end of month. And then there will be a couple of black metal events in February, which means I should have a couple of black metal interviews coming for you in February. And come March, we have Turku Saatanala event here where we are playing as with Nightside, and there are a couple of interesting bands too. Couple meaning a few, which means there should be more interviews out in March. And following March, later on, there will be Inferno 2024, more interviews. And then we're going to enter April. I don't know what's happening really in April. And when May is out, there will be Steelfest. What I'm saying here that throughout the spring or early months of 2024, there should be interviews every now and then. But the floodgates won't open for Rauta before April in terms of interviews. But let's see and hope that things will be unfolding in a nice way. So let's see how it goes. I will be keeping you updated. Stay tuned for my threads. I will be linking it here. So if you're using threads, sign up my threads for Rauta news and all other news related to me. Join Rauta's Discord for daily talks about metal. Consider becoming a Patreon here on Rauta's Patreon site. You can support and get the news and all that stuff. And other than that, I don't know what else to really to say, but daily videos are always coming. So there's that. And Sadistic Enemy, let's talk about this pagan thing later on. And before I'm going, Cataclysm 90 has a question for me. Let's see what it is all about. What was the first metal show and what band did I see? Can't say what was the first metal show. Um, but I really think the first real metal show for me was Metallica in 1993 when I was 17 years of age. So do the math and figure it out. It was a magic show with Suicidal Tendencies as the opener, Boring to Cult as the second opener, and then Metallica. And ever since, metal shows has been fucking great. But that is what was one great show back in the days. So there it is. All right, thank you, Benji. Happy New Year and keep peace to you as well. See you, Gyro. See you, Cecilia, and the rest of the guys. Yes, yes, flashback. I am pretty sure that link will. There is a call and hypothermia in that interview link, so just scroll it and you will find the hypothermia interview as well. And if not, you can always ask me later. Um, Agent Robocog is asking what time I start my lives. I usually start them around 9 p.m. GMT. Depending on time zone in the United States, it's probably late afternoon for you. Eh, Well, flashback, if I remember correctly, there's a hypothermia and a call in that interview. Yeah, it seems like you found it already. And see ya, Irina, also. Yeah, Robocock, it's maybe 6:30 for you, but here it's 1:30 a.m. Flashback, I cannot really guarantee any kind of call and hypothermia interviews in the future because I don't know if the bands are active anymore. And like I say, I can only arrange interviews when the bands come here for a gig or when I'm going to a festival where they play. So that's about it. All right. Yep. Cecilia, thank you, my mistress from United States. I will go to bed since you're requesting it. All right, take care, people, and stay metal, stay brutal, stay rauta, and all that stuff. Bye bye.